गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोहिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मह्यं मेधां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। Namaskaram everybody. At the request of our host Sadhana, she had asked me to speak a few words about the importance of this Kataka Maasam and why Devi is worshipped on that month, and also in general talk about the Devi worship. So those are the two topics I am going to talk today. So the Kataka Maasam, as you know, is the fourth month after Chaitra Masam. So Mesham, Rishabham, Mithunam, Katakam. So that is the fourth month. And on that month, actually, this particular Rasi belongs to the 9 parts of the stars. That is the last Padam of Punarvasu Nakshatram and the entire Pushya Nakshatram. And then Oilyam, that is Aslesha Nakshatram, all the 4 Padams. So in Punarvasu's last Padam and Pushya Nakshatram, Aslesha Nakshatram. So those are the stars in this particular Kataka Rasi. As you know, in astrology, for every Rasi, there is a Lord, particular Lord. We call him as Rasi Adipati. So, and that is because for Rasi Adipati, that is also his own house. So we also call it as Swakshetram for that particular Graham. So for the Kataka Rasi, Chandra or the moon is the Lord. And for every one of those lordship, there are what is known as Adidevata and Pratyadidevata for each of the Rasi Adipatis. For this particular Kataka Rasi, where Chandra is the Lord, the Adipati and Pratyadipati is Ambal, that is Gauri. And that is the reason why on this Aadi Maasam, Gauri is worshipped in such a elaborate way. Because for Chandra, she is really provides the Atma Shakti. Being the Pratyadipati, she provides all the Shakti, and she is also the consciousness for Lord Chandra, Gauri is, and that is why Gauri is worshipped on this particular Aadi Maasam. Like this, there are several months. For example, you take the month of Purutasi. So there, Buddhan is the Lord. For Buddhan, Vishnu is the Lord, and that is the reason why on that particular month Vishnu is extensively worshipped. And so there is an astrological or cosmological significance associated with the worship of the various deities in Hinduism. And coming to the Devi worship in general, so we all know that Adi Shankara has established 6 main theistic schools in Hinduism. We all know that Ganapatyam, Kaumaram, Sauram, Saivam, Shaktam and Vaishnavam. So there are 6 theistic schools, and among these 3, the ones that are widely practiced in India are Saivam, Vaishnavam and Shaktam. So there is the worship of Lord Ganesha, Ganapatyam is there, and also Kaumaram, which is the worship of Subramanya, is there in some parts of India, and worship of sun god is also there, Sauram. But in terms of the formal upasana, so only these 3 deities are worshipped: Shiva, Shakti and Vishnu. And how this theistic school came into being is a very interesting story. So initially there was only Vaidika Matam, in the sense that it was just the Vedas, and there was no concept of any deities in Hinduism. So all the things that were worshipped were all Vedic deities, and even those deities were not worshipped in the form of a vigraham or a chitram or a yantram and so on. They were all worshipped through the medium of fire, because according to our Vedic belief, Agni is the carrier for all the lords. He carries whatever the offerings that we give, he carries to all the lords. He is the messenger for all the gods. Then what came about is a concept of worshipping deities, as in Bhagavad Gita itself, as Bhagavan says in the 15th chapter, worship of Nirguna Brahman is very hard for everybody. So everybody needs to worship what is known as a name and a form. Then only you can register it in the mind. So that particular type of worship is called alambanam. Alambanam means you need an anchor or support. So you can have an anchor or support only when you have a vigraham. So that is why all these theistic schools came about. So associated with each theistic schools, apart, they all accepted the supremacy of the Vedas. In addition to that, they had their own scriptures called agamas. Associated with each theistic school is a set of scriptures called agamas. The word agama means one that has come down, agama, one that has come down. So from where it has come down from the mouth of the Lord itself. So for example, all the agamas in Saivam have come down from Lord Parameshwara himself. And similarly in Vaishnavam, all the agamas have come down from Sriman Narayana himself. And they are called Pancharatram. So the Vaishnava agamas are called Pancharatram, and there are another type of Vaishnava agam called Vaikanasam. Similarly, there is Shakta agamam. But although the name for agamas may differ from each of the theistic schools, in the Saiva schools it is called by name agama itself, whereas in Shakta agama it is called Tantra. So it is not called agama, it is called Tantra. Similarly, in Vaishnava agama it is called Samhita. So in other words, whenever you encounter names like Samhita, Tantra, Agama, please understand that they all mean the same things. In different contexts, they are called by different names. As far as Devi worship is concerned, those agamas, as I told you, is called Tantra. Somehow people associate the name Tantra with some magic or some evil spirits. It is not the case. The Tantra means, Tra means protect. Tantra means those who have embraced it, it protects them. That's all it is called, Tantra. And also Tantra, another meaning of Tantra is means way of life. So that is why we have the word called Swatantra. Swatantra means we decide upon the way of life ourselves rather than being dictated by others. That's why it's called, the word Swatantra came about. So Tantra really means the one that really protects. So the Saiva Agamas are 28 in number, and then Vaishnava Agamas are 108 in number, Vaishnava Samhitas. And the Devi Tantras or Shakta Tantras are about 64 in number. And all those Tantras are supposed to be recited by Lord Shiva himself. So, and as a crowning act of narration of all this Tantra, he actually narrated what is known as Sri Tantra. It is also called Sri Pura Tantra, also called Sri Vidya. So you must have all heard about the name Sri Vidya, that is very predominant in the Shakta school. So those is another name for Sri Tantra, is Sri Vidya. So the word Vidya here means, Sri means Parasakti, so Vidya means Upasana Marga. So that is a way of worship. The Upasana usually consists of 3 items. These mantras, that is the various chanting that you do. And you must understand that mantra is slightly different from other type of chanting which you do, called slokam, stuti, stava, those are all different from mantra. So the very word mantra means it has a special meaning. It has got a philosophical meaning embedded there. So, and also the literal meaning of mantra is manana trayate iti mantraha. So one that protects the person who is mananat. Even if you chant inside the mind itself, it protects. So that's the power of the mantras. So, and I told you that Sakta Upasana consists of the three items: mantram, yantram, and tantram. So yantra is nothing but a geometrical figure. So it may be either two-dimensional on a sheet of plate, or it can be three-dimensional, which we call it as Ardhameru and Mahameru and so on. These are all three-dimensional figures. So that is just a symbolism of what is said in the mantras. So in other words, it captures in geometric form whatever the significance, the theological and philosophical significance of the mantra is captured in yantra. And and then in addition to this, here the concepts of tantra means all the details of the rituals. So in that in even ordinary kalpa vidana puja, so you do 16 upacharams, like avahanam to visarjanam, and then you do various types of naivedyam, and then you do dupam deepam and naivedyam, and you do various types of mudras. When you actually want to establish God in a vigraham, you say avahito bhava, sthapito bhava, sannihito bhava. Like that we do various mudras. So all these mudras, the various types of rituals and the procedures, they all come under tantra. So in other words, Devi Upasana consists of mantra, yantra and tantra. So all these three forms of worship. So that is as far as the Upasana Margam is concerned, and I also told you that they are all originated from Sri Vidya. So for the Sri Vidya, first the elaborate description of these various tantras was narrated by Dattatreya. So it is called, the elaborate description that he has given is what is known as Datta Samhita, that consists of about 8,000 verses. So later on it was simplified by Parasurama, who is another avatar of Vishnu, and he did what is known as Sutram. Parasurama's Sutram is again an elaborate worship of Sakti, Sakta worship. And even to simplify that, because one of his devotees or Sishyas by name Sumatu, he shortened it form and he named it actually Parasurama Kalpa Sutram after his guru, although he composed it. And that is the paddhati that is largely followed by all the Sri Vidya Upasakas all over the world. So in other words, Sri Vidya refers to the Upasana of Devi. So in addition to the various mantras, as I told you, in terms of the agamas, there are 64 Shakta agamas. In addition to that, there are various important slokams, like in Brahmanda Puranam, you have Lalita Sahasranamam, which we all chanted, and then the Lalita Trishati, which consists of 300 names. So in addition to that, in Markandeya Puranam, you have what is known as Sri Devi Mahatmyam, also called by the name Chandi, also called Shaptasati. It is called Shaptasati because it has got 700 slokas. It is in 13 chapters, and the word 700 is very, very significant because the number of slokas in Bhagavad Gita is also 700, but it is spread over 18 chapters, whereas this is over 13 chapters. So that is another Devi Stuti, apart from Lalita Sahasranamam, Chandi Parayanam. In addition to that, Saundarya Lahari by Adi Shankara. And in addition to that, all this Tantrika, there are several other slokams composed by various kavis, on Devi. So Devi worship is something that is very elaborate, and it has got its roots from Shakta Agamas to the various mantras that in the various Puranas, as well as it is in the various Upanishads. So that is the significance of the Devi worship and the literature associated with the Devis. In Tamil we always say Pilliyar pidichu korangala mudikkiradhu. So that is wrongly interpreted. That has nothing to do with korangu. So anything in any bhajan sampradayam, we have to start with Ganesha and end with Anjaneya. That's why I chanted this Hanuman.